Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Spice Cup. It is the 8th round, and in this round, I am playing against Rio Chen, and this is a really funny pairing because he is also 11 years old. I have now played 3 people in this tournament who are all 11 years old. The number 1 ranked player for 11-year-olds in the country, Rio. The number 2, Andy Woodward. Number 5, Brian Shiep. This was really funny. I was excited for this pairing, because Ryo's really good. He's also quite high rated. So despite me not having the best tournament, I'm playing actually high rated players, which normally in open tournaments doesn't happen. You go down a lot. Now I knew that he played the King's Indian defense, and it just reset because if you remember from the earlier recaps, the internet at this hotel likes to die. So I knew he played the King's Indian defense, and let me tell you something, folks. And by the way, we'll talk about the title of this video. Don't worry about it. Save that till the end. Let's look at the game first. So I was ready to detonate something I had not played at all publicly whatsoever. This is the first time anyone's ever seen it. I had been studying the 4 pawns attack against the King's Indian defense. Now I have played this in Blitz on my anonymous accounts. I've racked up some awesome scores. The main line here is c5, d5, e6, and there's a lot of theory. Bishop e2 is the main move, something like cd5, cd5, bishop g4 is super common, rook e8 is common, a6, b5 stuff. But for this game, I decided that I was going to play de6, and my logic, this is the second most popular move, about 5-1, and bishop e6 leads to black just getting absolutely devastated oftentimes. fe6 is more often played. Rio blitzed out up to here, and here, according to theory, there are 2 moves that are normally played. Knight to d4 and a6, clearly preparing b5. But the truth is, all of these positions, when you run them through an engine, say 0-0-0, which basically just means not that they're dead equal, that they're very complex and unclear, and there's a lot of... So, and he started thinking, which was a good sign, and he played this move. Now, I knew this must have been a mistake, and normally white wants to play f5, but normally white doesn't get to do that because black controls that square. So I played the move f5 with the intention to build around this structure and the weakened light squares, blocking out my opponent's 2 bishops. So I played the move f5. Also, what awaited me after this game, depending on how I concluded it, was a tennis session under the lights in St. Louis with Eric Rose, and I wanted to play some more tennis. So, I'm like, let's play f5. He goes knight d4, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, that's an interesting move. Obviously, I don't want to trade and give him some initiative in the center. I also don't really want to trade this because this opens up his bishop. So a lot of different thoughts going through my mind, and I come up with this nice idea to follow up the f-pawn push with the move bishop to g5. And bishop g5 is very nice because the truth is, if he takes this pawn, he cannot take it again. Why? If he takes it with the bishop, my goal was to play knight takes d4, attacking this twice, so now he probably has to take me here, and I was just either going to play knight e6 and calculate this and win, or even something like this, where black literally cannot move. This pin is completely you can't move, so I'm just going to double up and you're going to resign. You have no moves here. And he couldn't take with the knight, I thought, because if he took with the knight, I could play even something like queen c2, I thought was very strong to line up an attack on h7. But just in general, I have 4 active pieces, maybe 5 or 6. He doesn't. It's a very good position. So he played h6. And my first idea when he played this was to take this pawn and just get the free pawn, and how is he ever going to defend it? But I didn't like that he was going to activate his bishop, then maybe activate this bishop, then maybe get my pawn. I was going to go bishop e2, which the engine does agree with, so good to know that I'm on good terms with the engine. And then what I decided also was, I also had this idea, bishop h4, and if he plays g5, to play take. And I actually thought that 3 passed pawns were enough for the piece, but then I was like, why am I sacrificing a piece? So I decided to take. And in this position, I had a choice. Knight to d5 straight away, or play knight takes, one of the pawn takes, and then knight to d5. And what I had looked at was maybe something like this bishop e5. But in my mind, I was like, he has no play at all. He cannot move at all. And my game plan is to, again, build up on the king side. I still really don't want to take this because it just gets him all active. And itchy nose. But I also had an idea to just play knight d5. And actually, it's funny. During the game, I was pretty frustrated by my move. But it turns out that I actually played the best move. Knight to d5. Going for a position like this. Now I will take and this. And here, black has just lost. Like, black is just completely lost. Because queen h5 is coming. All sorts of moves are coming. Black has no play whatsoever. So I was walking around after playing knight d5. Like, I don't know what he's going to do. And then I realized he does have a move. He does have a move. And hilariously enough, his best move is to move the knight out of the middle. Because I want to move my knight. I actually want to trade this knight. I want to trade these knights so my queen can get out. My knight's actually a little bit superfluous. It has nowhere really to go. It's the only piece I don't really need. But he played knight c6. And, you know, at this point, I've got a 35-minute time advantage. My preparation has worked beautifully. Now it's time to bring it home. So I think for a few minutes, I find this nice idea. Queen to e1. Trying to go to g3 to h4. Or a knight to h4, or g4, h4, queen g3, g5. A lot of different ideas. Bring the queen, bring the pawns, then the queen, bring the knight, bring something. Here he plays pawn takes, I take, and he goes for knight e7. At this point, I know I'm completely winning. I know. I mean, I just have to bring it home. Now, the first idea I have here, and this is actually why I was frustrated not trading the knights, because I was like, now he's going to create counterplay. Here I had two ideas. Idea number one, take on f6, and play this very nice move, g4. Yes, I'm pushing pawns in front of my king, but black has almost no play. Almost no play. And I'm going to steamroll. You know, I'm going to reroute my knight to e4. I'm going to bring my queen to h4. The position plays itself. There's a nice saying that we like in chess. Position plays itself. I'm going to play rook d1. I'm going to play bishop e4. Black has no moves. Slowly but surely. Then I had another idea, and my other idea was I give a check. The king goes to one of these two squares, and then I will play this nice move, knight h4. The idea of knight h4 being that the bishop cannot take because I just go to h6, I play f6, this is over. And if the knight takes on d5, setting up this, I jump into g6, I take the rook, I take the knight, I have an extra exchange, we win the game. The reason I didn't go for this is because I thought that after knight to h4, sorry, king h7 I thought was better, knight h4, I thought black could somehow defend this. I don't know why I thought that. I really don't. I don't know why I thought that. It's like +6. I don't know. I saw this. I thought it was inconclusive. And this is just where the problems begin. Now we are in that stage of the game. I don't know. Inexplicable. I saw this, and I thought I might get my pieces. I don't know. I don't have an explanation. So instead I went with this. And I sat there happily, and I was like, I have a great position. My plan is to go knight d2, bishop e4, queen h4, rook d1. Then I started thinking, wait a minute. This is a really annoying move here. He has to play immediately. He has to be super fast with his counterplay. So then he played it. He played the move b5. Now, I knew the computer would still find a way for me to win. White's position is great. And so I first thought, what if I just call this bluff? That's just a free pawn. That's just a free pawn. However, I do give him the diagonal. And, you know, if I still try to kind of like fiend to trade the pieces, he gets d5. He gets e4. Like, all of a sudden, he's actually doing stuff. I don't really like that, but I don't have time after b5 to keep it all close together, like going for the same structure, because then he just plays bishop b7, I thought. Like, I'm just giving him stuff he wants. Then he's going to bring his queen. Then he's going to bring his rook. And actually, me pushing these pawns, restricting his movement, I sort of weakened my own position. Okay, I can go knight d2, or I can play queen h4 and then knight d2, knight e4, or I can play rook d1. I don't know. I have like 6 different choices. I also thought about maybe playing g5. I rejected g5 because I don't want my knight leading the attack. I wanted my queen or my rook. I thought about queen g3, you know, bishop b7, and then g5. That looks pretty damn good. I expected him to maybe play queen f8 or king h8. I decided to go with this, and knight to d2 with the idea to play knight e4. And here I expected him to play bishop b7 because naturally you need to get to my knight. I would go here. He would go take, rook b8, and this is what I wanted. Bishop versus knight, past f-pawn, 3-on-1 potentially in all endgames, slide back, boom, boom. Clear advantage. Then he played a move I completely didn't see. He played queen g7, and this is where the problems escalated mildly. Because now the threat is to take on f5 when I play this move knight e4. A move that looked absolutely crushing a move ago. Now here comes rook takes f5, and by some complete miracle, the black position actually holds together. And if I don't play the move knight to e4, I have nothing. So, like, literally, I mean, bishop e4 is still possible. But, like, for example, if I let him go bishop b7, I'm very soon going to have almost no advantage. Like, first of all, he's also threatening to take on f5. And if I play something like king h1, he just has this. He can also take on c4. So here I thought maybe 25 minutes. And I have one way to play after rook takes f5. I calculated so much stuff here. So I calculated knight f6 check, king h8, bishop f5, knight f5, queen h5, queen f6, queen e8 check, king h7, pawn takes f5. I thought this was too dangerous with an exposed king. Sorry. Here I can take on f5. I thought this was too dangerous with an exposed king. The position is 0-0-0. I didn't like this. I thought that my king was just wide open. I didn't really see what I was going to accomplish. Okay, so I calculated knight to e8, which I thought was just absolutely brilliant. I was super excited to play this move. And then I realized it doesn't win the game at all. It's what I played in the game. But if, for example, like the queen goes back to f8, I just take this. And if he plays rook f1, I'm just getting in. And I knew what I needed to do. I needed to somehow deflect his pieces. You know, I thought about knight d5, which looks like it just wins completely. Because if knight d5, I have queen d8. I sneak into d8. I can also take on f5. If rook f1, queen g4, bishop g4, I have knight e7 at the end and I'm winning material. I was calculating unbelievable variation. Knight to h5 I thought about, but then there's queen g4 or rook f1. Or rook f1 and then he just takes on g4. And the difference at the end of this variation is that my knight doesn't take a knight. And what I settled on was in this position to play the move knight e8. Here the engine gives a move that's almost, I mean, it's borderline unfindable after rook f5. White just has to play h3 with the threat of king h2. Not king h1, but king h2, sidestepping the pin. Yeah, I mean, that's completely unbelievable. And then when you trade, your rook goes to f6. Didn't see it. Completely didn't see it. And now the tide of the game completely shifts because he finds rook to queen g5, and I play queen g3. I could have taken and done this, but I thought this was also very tricky, and knight takes d6, and he goes here. And material is balanced, but I felt the fate of the universe was not on my side anymore because I'm in a tactical shootout with an absolute genius 11-year-old who's going to be grandmaster in the next 5 years. It's like really, it's just not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be. There's kids that I can defeat in this tournament, and this dude. But of course, you know, we're still going to play the best move. So I play the move h3, which allows this, but I have knight e4. And here, problem number 3 arises. Here I see that while my bishop is hanging and I could slide back, there is a sacrifice. And I calculate very briefly, bishop c2, rook e4, queen h4. Oh, with the idea to play rook to f6. And this is pinned and it's very difficult to defend. And I attack the knight and everything. That's it. Or I can play here, 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 check. If queen g7, I take. If king g8, I was thinking rook f1 or knight f6. Like knight f6, here, rook f1. I thought this might be something. It's time to make a decision. And I decide bishop c2, and my heart sinks into my stomach because I realized that after this move, I don't have queen h4 at all because knight to f5. Blocking the attack, and I cannot take. And nothing works. And I'm sitting there like, you absolute moron, what have you done? And I figured maybe I still had a little bit of a hope. But I took, and the only hope remaining in this position is like some infiltration with the rooks. He kind of kept his queen around. Very nice decision to trade one of my rooks. I try not to trade, but he gets a queen trade. He brings in his rook. I try to activate my rook and consolidate along the second rank. I even get a pawn, actually. But he's winning because 9 times out of 10, knight and bishop versus rook is just a winning advantage. You can add a rook, you can add a lot of stuff, but yeah, and he wins this actually completely effortlessly. It's not even, he is a genius, but even more morons like myself would be able to win this position with black. You plant the knight right there, everything defends everything. E-pawn pushes, and very instructive. Like, he gets the rook behind the pawn, and then he attacks my rook, pushes it down, and at some point you're going to need to cash out, so he cashes out by getting one of my rooks, and very quickly, the only way you can really draw this is by losing both pawns. He checks me and goes over here. He's going to win this. This is protected. And in this position, I resigned. So there's a famous quote that I tweeted out by Ivan Sokolov, who's a grandmaster, and it was after a tournament. He played actually against Hikaru, and they interviewed him. I highly recommend you go check it out. It's got 60,000 views. It's on YouTube. It's like round 12 interview or something like that. Tara Steele, Waikanze. And the interviewer asks him, for a while, it was such a beautiful game. What happened? And he says, I was completely winning. If I don't kill myself tonight, I'm going to live 1,000 years. That's how I feel about this game. It's been like 3 hours. I had some dinner. I called my girlfriend. But, I mean, this was such a painful loss for a few reasons. Crazy, by the way, right? In chess, the 11-year-old children can make you feel this way. It was really painful because I finally got to play my prep. And I finally got an opportunity to reap the effort that I have sowed in, like, preparation. I've had some good positions for my preparation this tournament, like the game against the other 11-year-old kid. And I showed my prep, and that's actually really valuable in chess. Like, now there's a game out there that's going to be in the database that I played the 4 pawns attack, and it's so much easier to prepare now. I got my prep. I got a winning position in 15 moves. I was up 35 minutes on the clock, and I lost it. And, you know, when you say it out loud, and it's been a few hours, it really doesn't sound that terrible. But it's a terrible feeling. It's a really, really terrible feeling because it's like constant failure, you know? And 2 tournaments back, 3 tournaments back, you can consistently make that excuse, oh, it's only been a few tournaments. But the truth is, oh, and as a side note, I have withdrawn from the tournament. I did not want to play the 9th round. I was in no state of mind to continue, which you can argue is a quitter mentality. I would argue that I'm a danger to myself. I don't know what the hell's going to happen tomorrow if I actually played. And yeah, this is a really tough one. This is a really tough one, which is why I named the video what I named it. And I mean, credit to Ryo. He found knight c6 and b5, the 2 moves that I was like walking around or sitting at the table like, is he going to play this move? That looks kind of annoying, and he just played it instantly. So he's going to be super strong. But yeah, losing in chess absolutely sucks, and losing like this really, really sucks. And I don't know. I'm not a very good loser. I mean, I just get sad. I don't like break anything. But this one's rough. And I don't know. I really don't feel like going through another classical chess tournament, but I have 2 in November. I think I'm going to try to treat those a little bit with less expectation, less, you know, pressure on my own shoulders. But I want to make progress, man. And I worked so hard, like, for some of this preparation, and to just throw it all away, it's unbelievably frustrating, and that's why I just wanted to end. It's so funny, like, these last 2 tournaments have ended on this note, and the truth is that, yes, I can be a hermit, and that's, I don't know if the word has a negative connotation, but I can just study 6 hours a day and not do anything else, and the most I've studied in a day is maybe an hour and a half leading up to this tournament, or any of these tournaments, and that's because I have other commitments, unfortunately. And I'm just slowly realizing that I'm just not in great form. I'm just not in great form. And it's Gonna have some difficult decision making to do of how much time I'd need to commit to this to actually win games like this and not have these disasters happen. But just wanted to share that all with you. That your favorite YouTubers are human. We have our own anxieties. We have our own failures. Not some of them. Some of them will never show that because that's that's part of being a creator. But yeah. Signing off. Spice Cup comes to an end, and I have another tournament in November in a couple of weeks. Round robin event, Grandmaster round robin event, and yeah, I'll be back tomorrow evening with our regularly scheduled programming. On that somber note, peace out. Get out of here.